Uh, Okay, Jedi, I'm so glad to connect with you today and to get to know you and your story. So just want to say thank you for joining me on this Zoom call today. How are you doing today?
Today's been a full-on day. I've been preparing for my political campaigning. So I've been cleaning posters, unscrewing posters, packing boxes, getting ready for, it's 2 months away, but what's involved, you have to prepare now. Yeah. So that when the election time comes, you don't have to worry about those small things, and you just go out there and handing out how to vote and engaging with voters. So that's my day today.
But I'm really excited to get to know your story, G. And I just wanted to explain the purpose of our call today. Thank you for being my guest. And I guess in a time like this, when we face with so many things that is so uncertain, there's a lot of fear out there. I think it's really important for us to connect to ourselves and to be able to find our purpose and to find the why. And so the topic today, what I really want to emphasize on is how to find your life purpose and how to find the why. And so when I think about this topic, the first person come to my mind is you, Dai, because I am so inspired by your story, knowing, your humble beginning to where you are today in your career and the amazing thing that you have overcome, the obstacle that you have been through to find, your true core values within yourself, and that inspire me. So thank you for coming on and share with us on this amazing topic.
Thanks, Betty. Yeah, so funny that you chose that topic today, because this morning as I was getting ready to go out and getting to work, really, I said to myself, and I did a post this morning asking people, what does this word abundance, mean to them? When they see the word, what does it mean? And I thought, why am I doing it? Why am I, still involved in politics? And why am I driving through my Dawn Media conversations, helping people, having the courage to have conversations, and we can help create snippets of their, giving a vignette into their stories, into their personal journeys. That way it can connect people. Yeah. So why it's important for me is I think that coming from, escaping Vietnam at the end of the war, and very much has left obviously an impact on me, because I felt that growing up in Australia, I dreamed that there will be no wars left, right? I thought the Vietnam War was the end of all wars. And so I dreamt that we will live in a world whereby we can actually get to know one another as human beings, connect together through our shared stories, our shared values. Of course, there are differences in cultures, there are differences in the way that we raise, there are differences between East and West. But at the end of the day, I felt that what we should focus on to connect us together are our human conditions. What are our pains, what are our joys, and how do we connect with one another through those shared values. And so why I am so driven in terms of what I do in politics, and why I'm so driven in what I do through my Dawn business and the Dawn Media production, is that I think that stories would really connect us at the end of the day. Stories, especially of not sameness, but stories of differences, our different perspectives, and how do we actually learn from one another. And those differences is not about being different and therefore having this initial reaction about disliking, but it's about how is your different lifestyle or different perspective, what do I learn from that, rather than being a judge and judging how you're different to me. It's about, okay, so that's your perspective. And so I think I would love, for my whys, I would love for us, I want to see the world connected through stories, through conversations, and that through being humans. So that for me is my why. That's what's driving me in everything that I do, from politics through Dawn Media production, through even my Dawn initial, Dawn platform that I created to drive the conversation around diversity and inclusion. Diversity in terms of diverse perspectives, diverse lived experiences, but inclusion means to include all of those, in this world that we live in. And I asked, I said to people in my post this morning, there's so much in the world. There is an abundance of everything, of good air to breathe, of the blue sky that we can actually look at and say, hang on, we're living under this one blue sky. Why is it that we feel constantly threatened that it's not enough? Constantly threatened by some, news that suddenly we kind of locked ourselves down. Really, if we look and appreciate the abundance that there is out there, that we shouldn't feel so threatened, and that way we can be more generous, be more kind, and respecting differences, and finding a way and finding a solution through all of those differences. I think we as human beings, we've got the capability to really have a conversation. That's one thing we have above the animal kingdom, is that the speech, right? We can talk. Surely we can use that to better the human race, from my perspective.
I really appreciate your answer, and actually it really inspired me, because I can feel a sense of gratitude, in your way of sharing, and thank you for that, because this is the kind of energy that we need right now. But before getting into your story today, I just wanted to give a brief background to our audiences to know a little bit about you and your accomplishment, because when I read your story and your biography, it moved me. So I just wanted to share a glimpse of that to our audience. Knowing that you're coming from a very humble beginning as a refugee. So you live in Vietnam in 1975, which is a very significant times of Vietnam. Your successful story had inspired generations of Vietnamese and Australians. So you are the first Australian woman with Vietnamese heritage background to win the election and to serve as a councillor in Fairview City. And I know that apart from being an influential and inspiring politicians, I just wanted to let you know that what I love so much about you, and I have so much respect for you, is that you always advocate for messages on diversity, inclusivity, kindness, compassionate leadership, and self-belief. And I think those topics are so important for us nowadays. So, and I also love the story of how we met in Saigon as well, G, in a
I know.
in a random fashion boutiques, and I remember that conversation of woman empowerment. The topic was talking about how women need to support each other, lifting each other, and that was the beginning of a wonderful relationship that we had. And forever since, that conversation bonded us to become best friend. And I truly believed in the law of attraction, is that your vibe attract your tribes, and you totally your vibe totally attract me, Dai. So I just have a lot of respect and admiration for you. And I just love our story. And you're my best friend, and you've been through the thick and thin with me. And
we've been through a lot.
Yeah, and you're also the godmother of my child, Sophia. It's just so this is why I want to have this conversation today with you, G. And when I think about the topic of finding your purpose and finding the why, knowing you all these years, I just have a strong sense that you only know who you are and knowing your purpose. And so I hope that today you can share with us and our audience a sense, how do you arrive with that? So I've got a couple of questions for you. So the first question I have, G, is in 1991, you begin your career as a journalist and a broadcaster for ABC. So can you share with us a little bit about that journey of you becoming?
Yeah, being a journalist was such an accident. So, as you know, most children of refugee families in particular, or migrant or ethnic families, the families expect their kids to either become a doctor, a lawyer, an accountant, a pharmacist, right? Those status positions in society. And I was expected to become a lawyer. And so I worked really hard, but I don't think I actually was that great academically, to be honest. I scraped through high school and I managed just to get into, law back in the 90s. But it wasn't, I found that law wasn't what, I wasn't ready to go to uni. So I dropped out of uni. I was lost for at least a year. So I was just waitressing. I was a salesperson in a closed store retail shop. And I actually love fashion. That's why that's where we, you came into my life, because I love fashion, but I never got to design fashion. I never got to do anything because I was, focusing. I had to focus on. And can you hear the noise? There's somebody upstairs. Can you hear them?
Okay.
But then when I finished, so I dropped out of law, worked for 12 months. And then out of that, one day I accidentally stumbled upon this guy who told me about journalism, and at a cafe introduced by my sister, having a coffee with him, he said, look, I think you should apply for a job on the local paper. We've got a cadetship offering. A cadetship is like a traineeship back in those days. It's like an apprenticeship, right? But for journalism, it's called cadetship. And so I applied and I got it. And they were looking for an ethnic, which is a person like me. Non-English is ethnic means a non-English speaking background. And I was the first, ethnic refugee to get a cadetship for the Fairfax papers, which is, back then it was Fairfax is a big brand, but this is a community newspaper. So I worked there and I built up my skills, and I started to enjoy journalism because I got to see that it's about stories, and that's what I have wanted to do. It's about searching for those stories to connect people. And so I landed that job, even though it wasn't something that I had aspired or I had set my eyes on to do. And so from there, I then got into the ABC, and a few years at the papers, I then applied, and again, by pure chance, I got into the ABC, the Australian Broadcasting Corporation, which was an iconic institution in Australia. You're supposed to get the best training. It's the best training ground for journalists, for filmmakers, for producers, for everything. It's iconic institution in Australia. And I was very grateful that I got there. And when I got there, I didn't realize till years when I left, but when I got in there, I probably was the only Vietnamese face or Asian face in the production line, the ones that are making programs, because the rest, the people who look like me aren't actually program makers. They're either a janitor or an accountant, but in the institution, but they're actually not making programs. So I only realized how lucky I was to have had that role when I left in 2008. But yes, I got that job in the 1990s, and I stayed there till 2008 when I left.
And so what moment that sparked an inspiration for you to transition from being a journalist to become a politician? What was that defining moment?
Well, I wouldn't, like journalism, I stumbled into politics. I stumbled into journalism. I stumbled into politics. It wasn't something like I thought about, I want to get into politics, and so therefore I'm going to work my way to get into politics. It wasn't like that at all. I was actually working my way to actually be more of a storyteller. And it's just in 2008, I was shopping with my husband in Cabramatta, because that's where we shop. And then we actually, by sheer chance, he said to me, look, I think you'll be very good. You can be a voice for this community out here that needs representation. Why don't you give it a go? And so I thought, oh, okay. And that's how I just did. It just within about 24 hours when I thought, I'll give it a go. So it wasn't something that I had planned. And so in 2008, there was an election. It was called a by-election. And I stood and I caused a historic swing in that area. And so obviously the rest, as they say, is history. So I've been in in politics since then.
And there's a lot of people out there at the moment, G, as searching for their purpose, and especially in a time like this. Could you give us some advice on how that you find your purpose, right? And how do you find your why? And what sort of question that you ask yourself, what came through your mind?
Yeah, look, you know, in terms of, I think asking your why do I do what I do? I think you asked it, I have found that I've asked that all my life. What am I doing this for? And why am I doing it? And I think, you know, when you're young, you're doing it because you need to earn an income. And so, you know, you're told by your parents that you have to do a certain thing because that's what they want you to do, not because what you want to do. For me, I think unlike the generation today, some of them are a bit more focused. Some of them actually do think that they know what they want. I actually was lost, as I said. And it's along the way that as I, you know, was in journalism, and I think in journalism, really, it opened my eyes to many opportunities, many things that are happening around the world, many things that are happening in our community. And I had the opportunity, and I was lucky to hear so many stories. And those stories informed me about lives. It informed me about people as human beings. And so I then looked at that and I'm thinking, well, how can I make a difference in that community? How can I make a change for, you know, to what I was seeing that was not right? For instance, you know, my decision to run in 2008 was that that community where I grew up, I found that they were not really represented well. You know, nobody advocated to get, for example, a car park built, something small like that, right? Something so small. I think you don't have to look for some bigger, a big problem to solve. A small problem enough that drives you is what you need to solve. And then you know, put your energy into solving that if that's what you want to solve. And so for me, I saw that how this community, the majority of them are of migrant and refugees background, because I can relate to that, of growing up like that, of growing up with nothing, of growing up in a you know, a poor household. I know what it's like to go without. So I thought, well, but how do you get people out of that? And so I thought, well, how can I change? How can I play a role in ensuring that the children of those families know that they actually have opportunities here that they can seize? And if there are no opportunities, they need to learn to create those opportunities, as I have felt I've created a lot of opportunities for myself. You know, nothing was handed to me on a platter.
Yeah.
Nobody said, oh, here's a job, you know, which, no, I had to apply for it. I had to go through to being interviewed. I had no network. You have to remember, being a refugee, English is my second language. I had no network. I had nobody of a dad or a mum who had connection to bring me into any organization. I actually did it without those networks. So, so you can actually create opportunities even when there's none. I really, now in my stage in my life, I look back, I'm thinking, you know, when people say you have to knock on the doors and wait for the doors to open, I thought, well, I look back, I'm thinking, well, actually, not many doors opened for me, but you know what? I built the door, you know, but this, not just metaphorically speaking, but I actually have learned how to renovate and build and construct, as you know, with my husband. So I do use drills and I do build things, not as good as him, but sometimes when something is not there, it doesn't mean it's not going to be there for you, but you have to create something for you to step into. So yeah.
I love that story, you know, when you said that when there's no opportunity knock on your door, you just have to go out there and build that door. And, you know, we all, I remember also when I first came to Australia, sitting in front of TV and my tears just coming out simply because I couldn't really understand English and it was so frustrated. But at the same time, that was like the motivation to drive you to become better.
You did. You seized opportunities. You went out there, and you know, like you know, but English is a second language. So but that didn't stop you. You went out there and you wanted to ensure that you learned the language. You wanted to ensure that you're going to set up your business, and you tried everything, right? You did it because you got to test things out. You got to see what works, what doesn't work. And you gave it a go. So that's what I think we need to get people to think, that it's not the end of the world if you can't do something. And if you try and you fail at it, it doesn't matter. You know, it's okay to fail at something. And I say this to my son often, it's okay if you fail at something, but at least you gave it a go, and give it a go, like work at and giving it a go, right? If it failed, then you might find a way to just pivot, or you might realize that, hang on, this is not my path. You know, I've put 10 years into it. I mean, I put 18, 20 years into journalism.
Yeah.
You know, they're friends of mine who've been at the ABC for 30, 40, 50 years. You know, so some people choose to stay in that path till they die. For me, I thought, well, no, you know, after 17, 18 years, I thought, no, it's still a long time. Nowadays, young people don't stay in their job for that long, right? But back in those days, people stayed there for life. You know, I mean, obviously there's a question, is it a good thing or a bad thing to stay in one job? Yes, it's good because it's secured, but I think it doesn't, your mind doesn't grow or doesn't shift or doesn't, it becomes so, you know, just tunnel. It's just this tunnel in your brain that you just, because you've been doing that for so long, you just do the same thing and the same thing. You become like a machine almost. I read a few weeks ago somewhere whereby apparently now they have understood the mind or the brain more, and that apparently your mind, which is different to your brain, your mind, you can actually grow parts of your brain again. You know, I read somewhere where they have done some research that found that you actually, there are bits and parts of your brain that you can rewire, right? You can do that. And I thought, oh my God, of course, I have always believed in rewiring of the brain. It takes longer. It takes more than 21 days. I can guarantee you that. You know, some people say, do you exercise or do something for 21 days and becomes a habit? No, it doesn't. It becomes a habit for a short time, but your brain is such a strong thing. You have to repeat it more than 21 times for it to actually, you know, navigate differently.
Yeah. So when you looking at the journey of your life, Dai, and all the things that you've been through, this is quite a personal story, but I think it's really important for us to know, because I think we all have that defined moment when things that shape you, and you know, you're resilient and draw from that strength. So what was the most difficult chapter of your life or adversity that you have to overcome to be who you are today?
I think there are two, but the biggest one obviously is cancer. That, you know, I self-diagnosed. I had cancer, breast cancer, in October 2014. That was, oh my God, I thought I was going to die, because, you know, when you hear stories of cancer, it's about death. You know, a woman dies, you know, of breast cancer. Like, there's so many that dies of cancer, not just breast cancer, but cancer overall. I mean, this week alone, I met a family, you know, whose father died of cancer 2 years ago, and the mother died of cancer two weeks ago. So and the children are left orphaned. And so cancer really made me look at life differently. I saw my life, there was an end to my life. Basically, I knew that there was an end to my life, and cancer brought it forward. And I thought, my God, I'm going to die in 12 months. If I'm going to die in 12 months, what am I going to do differently so that my life is fulfilled, and that I'm having an impact in the 12 months, and that if I die, I know that I've left, you know, I've left something, a legacy behind for my son, and also hopefully for the community, you know, especially the people that I love and the people that I'm connected to, my friends, the close friends that I like, who I see as my family. So I thought, what do I need to do that will make a difference? So yeah, so having cancer really completely shifted my mindset a lot. You know, I'm somebody who's constantly shifting my training my brain anyway and shifting my thinking and all of that. But I think cancer really made me realize that death was closer than we think. And a lot of people ignore the fact that death is just at the doorstep. And we live life as if we're immortal, like as if we'll never die. And because of that, we don't really think purposefully, and we don't think about why we're doing what we're doing, right? Because we're just thinking we're just going to live forever. But if we know that we're going to die, we know that whatever we do, or for me, what I do, I have to ensure that there's a purpose to what I'm doing. Because if I die, then what's left behind makes sense, and that there's a purpose to what I'm working on, or to what I'm doing.
I still remember that moment when you called me and you told me about, your diagnosis, and I still have goosebumps when I hear that story. But what I only remember is that your positive outlook when you told me, you actually told me with a smile. You said, guess what? I had cancer, and you smile about it. And I'm like, I don't know how to react when I hear that, but all I saw was the incredible amount of strength, the resilience, the positivity inside you was like going to the next level. So could I just ask you what went through your mind, when you first heard the word cancer, and what was the thing, that instilled in you and that helped you to find that why within you at that moment?
When the doctor first told me that I had cancer, of course, fear is is very close to people. Like that's our first initial reaction to anything, the flight or fight syndrome. So my initial thing was, oh my God, I was so scared. My son was 11 years of age, and I'm thinking, I'm going to leave him behind. Not going to see him grow. Within a few minutes of her telling me that, I had my whole picture of my life just flash in front of me. And I thought, hang on, why am I thinking like this? I thought, again, in that moment, while she's talking to me, my brain was going while she's saying, oh, you're cancer, I've got to find you the best specialist, and blah, 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 blah. I didn't hear anything else. I just thought in my head, it starts to process death, fear, oh my God, my son. And then I thought, hang on, if I was meant to die, I could have died when we escaped. And then I thought, well, if I'm meant to die now, then I have to then make sure that by the time I die, I'm doing something worthwhile, so that, my son, my family, my friends know about the things that I have done, and they're people that I can help. If I can help make people's lives better while I'm alive, then that's what I have to do. And so I think within about half an hour of me going from fear, oh my God, oh shit, I'm going to tell Ethan, to, okay, what am I going to do? How I'm going to fight this, because I have to fight. And I think when I told Ethan that I had it, and I saw his face, and I said to him, I'm going to fight this, and I'm going to be okay. That I'm going to be okay, and I'm going to be alive for you. I thought, when you say that, you think, you better fucking be, I thought to myself. And I try not to cry, because obviously I don't want him to feel, oh my God. And so I, of course, you still can't help but you cried. You remain stoic, but there's still, fear and courage is kind of the same. You have fear on one hand, and then you have to try and be courageous on the other hand. But it's just on the other side of the coin for me, fear and courage at that point in time. And then I said to my son, I said, well, I've got to tell your teacher, because just in case if something happens at school, I want you to be, because Ethan and I, we always have an open conversation in the household. Yeah. I said, I want to make sure that you're okay. He goes, oh, Mum, you can tell my teacher, but please don't come into class. And I thought, oh my God. I thought, oh no, he's he's hurt, and he goes, I said, so why? He goes, oh, he goes, because a young girl in my class, her mother died of cancer. And if you tell our class and you'll get cancer, it might bring back memory, and you're talking to us and her mother's no longer there. And I said, oh, okay. So he was concerned for this young girl in class as him. He was in year 6, and he was concerned, and he said, it's okay for you to talk to my teacher and the principal, but don't show it to the class. But I'm going to be okay. And, you know, I monitored him and talking to the teacher. She goes, oh, no, she's very good. And no, he's handling it really well. And I think he's handled it quite well because we weren't hiding it from him. And I think because I said to him, I'm going to be okay and I will fight it and I'll be here for you. And I think he believed that. And so, yeah, and I'm still here for him. Touch wood.
Yeah, it's amazing when you go through a moment like that. It alters you and it changes you. And the only thing left that you think about the people that you love, you know. And so it's amazing how you're saying that in adversity, there's always a light at the end of the tunnel. And so now that you completely recover, how's your health at the moment, G?
Oh, look, I'm in remission. So I've passed the 5-year mark. So with this cancer, apparently it doesn't come back in 5 years, then it's highly unlikely it'll come back. They don't say that it'll never come back, but it's highly unlikely it'll come back. So, you know, so I think I know, again, I just go back, I've got one life. I've got to make the most of my life and live a purposeful life and knowing why I'm doing what I'm doing.
You've been through a lot in your life, right? And you know, I mean, that's one story, but I've seen you been through even worse as well, you know. But you somehow you navigate through it, you become stronger, and now you know you are advocate for the next campaign. So, if I can ask you, when you want people to remember Dai Li, right? What are the 5 words you want people to remember you?
I want them to remember me for being loving, madly courageous, a good friend, somebody that they can rely on, somebody that they can count on, and somebody that they can trust and fall back on. So, you know, I want, you know, and that I'm there, you know, to listen and to help them find solutions if I can. So that's the kind of person I'd like people to remember me by.
So, you know, in your world, being a politician, you know, sometimes you have to be rational, you have to be logic, and somehow I still be able to have you know, feel that sense of compassion, loving in your heart. So how do you balance, you know, being strong, being powerful, at the same time, being compassionate and being courageous? How do you do that?
You know, I don't like to see myself as a politician. I know I'm a politician because, you know, you're an elected person. So that once you're elected, it means you're political, you're a politician. That's the word that's used. I think politics is about people, and I think nowadays it's moved away from that. It's more about the politicians and the people. And so I see myself as a community activist, really. And I'm in the political arena, but as a community activist, and I'm there to be the voice of those that are often can't speak for themselves or don't have the courage to speak up. So I feel that I'm their mouthpiece. And in the political world, they have a different language. They speak a different language completely. And I've been in it now for about a decade. There are times when I still struggle to speak the same language as those who are what you call political operatives, in that that's how they raise and how they've been conditioned to be. And a lot of them are from privileged backgrounds, and you know, and I think why I've been fighting a lot for diversity in representation is because I don't see diverse representations at that level, at the leadership level in our society. And I think that it's hard. It's not easy to balance being me, being trying to do what I say I'll do, and I'll do it. So when somebody comes for help, you don't say, yeah, I'll help you, and then you just walk away and knowing that they, you know, they don't follow up anyway. A lot of people don't follow up on things. So somebody asks you to help and then you just ignore and they're probably forgetting, and then people move on, right? So when people ask me for help, I actually do really put my mind to it where I can to help. If I can't, I would say I can't. So I think is that being that, I don't like to, authentic is being overused, but being me to do what I say I'll do and do it. And if I can't do it, then I say I can't do it. There's a lot of games playing in politics, and I understand why people have to play the games. And it's hard. It's a hard thing because I find it really tiring and not genuine, disingenuous to just pretend to like somebody just for the sake of liking them in order to get a number or a vote from them, rather than having a conversation and thinking, well, I disagree with you. I will vote only if I think it's something worth voting on. But that's not how the politics is played. So I'm still learning, I believe. And at the moment, I'm grateful that I am able to be me still in politics. I have not had to be somebody else in order to be in politics. I do have to actually be more tactful. In the past, I'll be saying things. Now I'm a bit more tactful, and I have to watch what I say a bit more. So that way, you know, if you can't hold a promise, people don't come back and say, oh, you said that and you didn't deliver. So you kind of aware more how you need to say it and what and when you need to say it. So that's a bit more something that I'm more mature about and learning to do more better.
It's amazing how you're saying that, you know, how to balance being authentic, but at the same time, you know, can play the game, and especially in the game of politics. I know that there's a lot of drama and there's a lot of headaches, but at the same time, I know that you must have a core value deep within you, ingrained in you, that help you to fight this battle, help you to keep going. So I know that you have your campaign coming up, G, and this will be the first independent campaign. Can you tell us a little bit more about the campaign you're running in September coming up?
Yeah, look, so I'm running a local government election for local government in New South Wales, and so I'm running a team of independents, but for the first time, it'll be run under my party that I have formed. It's called the Australian Women's Party, and I think there's never been a party formed by, well, an ethnic woman. So it's I don't know what's going to be like because, and I haven't gone to the media yet. I have not announced it yet. So I will make the announcement soon in the next few weeks to say, this is my party. This is what we're going about. Now, the Women's Party doesn't mean it's just about for women. It's about coming from the perspective of another, and that other is the women. But on my team, I have a guy, for instance, running with me, right? I have a diverse group of women running with me. So it's not about just women issues. I'm not going to be burning brass or anything like that. It's about having a different perspective. So when you come to policies, when it comes to decision making, that you have a different set of lens that can, you know, that can contribute to government, decisions and government policies. Because our political parties actually were formed by men. And predominantly Anglo-Celtic, Anglo-Saxon men. So it's very male-dominated. The political culture is male-dominated. Our institutions were set up by men as well. So I think I will aspire to lead this party differently. But it's small. I'm starting it small, you know, like just a small team at a local level to test it out and see if it can grow further. So that's what's happening, and I'm excited because it's new. So you know, you don't know how the public is going to take to it. I believe, you know, a women's party is time. It's about time for one, because so many issues that are emerging in our public debate are around women, about domestic violence, about you know, disabilities. Like in Australia, the National Disability Scheme, there's a lot of women that are impacted by that because of their children. So there are a lot of issues that are related more to women that are emerging. So I think it's timely that, although it's small, I'm going to start at the local government level to form this party so that we can build up this momentum to build another party that can actually be in that political space landscape here in Australia.
Why is this campaign so important to you? What does it mean to you? And what if you win? What differences will you make to your community if you win?
Look, I think this campaign will be different in that it will cement the independent team that we had elected in 2016. Last time it was, but this time we planned it, and this time we want to bring a bigger team on. So it'll be historic if we can actually bring more people onto this, onto council, you know, using this party platform that I have formed. I will think the last 4 years, we have done a lot as an independent team, but I believe that with this if this new team is elected, we will be able to do more to really grow the city to become innovative, to become greener, to become cleaner, to become healthier, to become smarter. So those are the things that I would love to see our area of about 205,000 people, which is probably very small compared to, say, some small region in Vietnam or in Ho Chi Minh City, but that is quite large in Australia for a council that size, and whereby, you know, that 7 out of 10 households in that our area speak another language other than English. So there's a lot of migrants and refugees, and I hope that I can bring up other the children of those migrant and refugees. You know, I'm bringing the next generation of leaders in to council. That's my aspiration. That's what I'm doing.
I think that's really amazing. And I think you just hit the point, because I think mentoring and leadership are so important in a time like this. So when you grow up, Dai, did you have a role model? Did you look up to somebody's story to inspire you to become the version you are today?
I did. I grew up reading a lot. I read a lot on Mother Teresa. I love what she did. Martin Luther King Jr. Mahatma Gandhi. Those people, of course, are not around you, right? They are the people that you read and you think, wow, look at what they've done. Look at the impact they've made in the world, and the sacrifices they've made. I'm just a tiny little pebble in that kind of ocean. And I think what listening to their stories and reading their stories, I'm thinking, if I can just make a small difference in the community that I live in, that's pretty good, you know. I managed to get the car park, which is small, but I managed to build new parks. I've managed to set up a small business hub, or not me setting it up, but I've managed to influence the staff to set up this small business hub out in our region, which is really exciting for me. So those little small things, I believe, will change the lives of the residents living out here. That means they are valued people in the community because somebody cares enough to improve, where they live. So you're not a politician sitting there and not doing anything, but actually every day I'm working towards improving small things, improving the lives of those living here, so that they can take pride in living here and that they can be proud of being part of this community. And that's as much as I can do at the end of the day.
And I just feel really humble and inspired by your story, G, the positive outlook that you have in your life. And I've learned a lot through this conversation with you. I've learned that you can still be strong, be powerful, and still be true to who you are. I've learned that, you can be courageous and feel the fear at the same times. And I think in a time like this, when we live in, such a crazy world, with the lockdown and, a lot of restriction, this topic is even more relevant to us to remind us that, there are encouragement, exists side by side when you feel the fear and you can still power through it.
Yeah, I don't think, I feel that the media around the world, I don't know what's like in Vietnam, but certainly here, have kind of built the fear out of people, not built it out, but drove the fear into people, to the point that they completely locked down mentally. It's not just the physical lockdown that I'm concerned about, it's the mental lockdown. And the continuation of mental lockdown would strip away people's ability to think, to be courageous, to be innovative, and then to be to be independent. They can't think independently. They can't be courageous because everything, they can't move, they can't do anything because the government says so, or the media tells them so. I just watch it. I'm thinking, oh my God, what kind of human race are we going to create for the future? If it's a health matter, we talk about, okay, let's implement a health system, ensuring that we get vaccinated, ensuring that we wear our masks, just like, if you've got some sort of disease, just make sure you look after yourself, look after the surrounding environment and community. But the point now is, it's not just locking down people physically, it's mentally, but in addition, it's creating this, bringing out the worst in people, people dobbing people because they're not wearing masks, people calling people's names because they think that coronavirus is from China or Asian person, or, if you're an Asian person, you're seen as the person that brought in coronavirus. So there are all of these negative things that are coming out, which just really, the world that I want to create, the world of cohesiveness, of collaboration, of respecting differences, is getting further and further away. We're getting more of a world of judgment, of suspecting somebody, of not trusting that person. Is very antithesis to what I really dream about. But I just know that this too shall pass.
Yeah, yeah. I totally agree with you, and I hope that people listening to your interview today and your sharing will be able to see a different light, because I think that time like this, we need to come together. We need to spread kindness around. We need to care for one another. Checking in with somebody and ask how they're going. Because it can affect you. But hearing your story today really lifted me up, Dee, and I really appreciate your time. So we have a few minutes left, with our audience. So I have one last question that I wanted to ask you. So what would be the advice you would give to the young generation, or to millennium, like the generation like myself, on the topic of finding your purpose and finding your why? What would be the advice for us?
I think you will know your why eventually. I think you need to keep doing what you love doing. Keep searching, because it will eventually pop up and emerge. And so keep making a difference, no matter how small. Just don't think too big, just think small. And make the difference in that small circle where you are, where you live, where you grow up, or where you work. And yeah, just keep on making a small difference. There's so many. I just, don't be judgmental. Be open, be kind, be inclusive, and be bold. And you can, be courageously bold and speak your mind. especially, you know, because our generation, especially our culture, we don't speak our mind, sort of, we kind of reserve it. Learn to speak our mind in a respectful, bold way and in a kind way, and, you know, have a conversation and share stories
I think story
until you
as
get to your why.
yeah, I think story are so important. You know, be able to share yourself vulnerably, be able to open, be authentic, and you know, just it's okay to fail. It's also okay to not be okay. Just you know, it's okay to feel the fear, and it's also okay to you know to stumble and get back on track again. So I think the message today is just perfect for us, and I really appreciate your time, Jidai, and your you know your story of courage really inspire me, who you are, and I I really want to get involved together with your campaign. So if you can share with us as a way that we can involve with you at your upcoming September coming, how can we follow you? How can we get on board with you?
Oh, I'd love to. I mean, obviously you can't vote for me because you're not here. But if some of your followers are in Sydney, especially in my area, then definitely get them to vote for me, put one. But share the message. So I will start my campaign probably next week, where I share my video snippets, my stories, my team stories, and we will start rolling out a campaign on social media. And that, I think, is important, that that message then gets sent, passed around, you know, as much as possible, so that people can hear, can see, can watch it. So I'll be using obviously Instagram a lot, and Facebook too, to share my journey, and that's where I hope to connect and get people to follow, and if they know somebody in the area, vote.
Thank you so much, Ida, for your time today. I wish you all the best of luck with your campaign. Not that you really need the luck because you've been working so hard. I love your
Still
consistency.
need it. Still need it. You can't take anything for granted.
I love your consistency. I admire, you know, your passion and authenticity within you, and your compassionate leadership. There's so much to learn from you, G. And we wishing you all the best. And yeah, look forward to welcome you back in our next conversation. Thank you.
Thanks, Em.
Bye
Thank you,
bye.
Em.
Have a great
Bye.
evening, G. Bye bye.
You too. Bye. Bye.